I'm Cindy Wolfe Boynton, and even though I live in Milford, I've always thought of West Haven as my second home, particularly the Oyster River section. Today, here at the bend of Jones Hill Road is a housing complex. But in the 18 and 1900s, it was the farm and homestead where my grandmother, great-grandmother, and great-grandfather, and I think several other of my greats lived as well. When my grandmother married my grandfather, they bought a house just up the road on Pauline Avenue, which was actually named after another one of my relatives, Pauline Atwell. This was the house that my dad grew up in and that pretty much every member of my family has lived in at some part in our lives. But I grew up on stories about Oyster River, how my dad as a kid would run between his house and his grandparents' house. And because we were so close to my grandmother and my aunt, who never moved away from Pauline Avenue, my mom, dad, and I would spend pretty much every Sunday and at least 1 or 2 nights a week here coming over for dinner. My dad, he loved to tell stories about his childhood in West Haven, how he and his family would go down to the shore to fish or to dig for clams and oysters. During the Depression, he and my Aunt Marge, who was his twin sister, would go door to door to the houses in Woodmont and West Haven trying to sell the clams, mussels, and the oysters that they dug up from the Sound. As a girl, my grandmother, Esther, would host dances at the barn that was behind the old house. This article from a 1915 New Haven Register wrote about one of those dances in the social section, saying it was a very merry affair, with the house elaborately decorated with cornstalks and pumpkins and streamers of black and yellow paper. Music, apparently, was furnished by McCluskey's Orchestra. Back in the day, where Oyster River Tavern is now, my family ran an ice cream stand. Both my grandmother and her sister, my great-aunt Marion, worked there. And if I had known this about my grandmother before she died, I would have asked her whether working there had anything to do with the love she had for food. My grandmother was an amazing cook, and she loved having people over for dinner. One of her signatures was a clam pie, which she made from clams that were dug from the Sound at Oyster River. And it's a recipe that I was lucky enough to inherit.
We always had one leg in Milford and one in West Haven, due to the fact that the family had lived for so many years at Pauline Avenue that we always considered it our second home.
So that was my mom, Barbara. She's 87 and in a nursing home now, suffering from advanced Parkinson's disease. My wonderful dad died in July of 2016, but for most of his adult life, one of his many activities was being active in the West Haven Historical Society, contributing to books like these, frequently speaking at the University of New Haven, and making sure that I always knew the depth of my roots in West Haven so I could in some way be a voice for it when he couldn't. Please look for more videos to come about my connections to West Haven, past and present, and please feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm running for state representative in the 117th district, and I'm looking forward to not just making sure that you know who I am, but to making sure that I know who you are. To quote Ben Franklin, who my father dressed up as several decades ago to march in a parade in West Haven, energy and persistence conquer all things. I have both the energy and persistence needed to best represent you in Hartford, and I will use the time between now and Election Day to show you why. Thanks for watching.